Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Pervoznik, and been a while since we've had one of our in memoriam shows, so I'm going to bring everybody in right quickly. And Marty and Jim, very quickly, let's raise one up of our respective cups and or mugs or glasses. Dolly Parton, Tim Curry, sadly the same day, and the word icon gets thrown around a little bit too much. I will say legend for Tim Curry. I will say icon bordering on institution for Dolly Parton. And so and Jim, right away, I'm going to throw it over to you and just take it away with our memorializing of Tim Curry.
Yeah. I mean, he was a absolute original, as you said, a legend, pun intended. Yeah, absolutely. Just so much fun to watch on screen all the time. I've read people a thing online where somebody said you can tell someone's generation by the roles they know Tim Curry from.
Yeah.
Because he was such a presence for so long. So for me, I'm just going to go through some of my favorite roles. I was way too young for. Now I'm blanking on names, of course. I was way too young for Rocky Horror, although I did watch it later in college. And as a movie, it's but as an experience, watching a midnight showing with an audience that participates, it's an absolute blast, and I highly recommend it. But it wasn't really my generation's thing. So, Legend. I was really young when that came out. Don't have a lot of memories, but watched it later, and yeah, him playing Satan in Legend was fantastic, of course. But I really got introduced to him when I was about 10 years old, and my family made the mistake of sitting down and watching it on TV, thinking it was going to be a TV movie, and it wouldn't be that bad, right? And it scared the absolute shit out of me, and did it for a long time after. And but my God, him as Pennywise, good Lord, what an absolutely amazing horror performance. I mean, he was just absolutely terrifying. The voice and the dead eyes and the clown makeup and just gleeful, maniacal, evil, just perfect acting, perfect performance.
Sure. And very quickly, I just want to throw in there, John Nolte, I think nailed it in one of his posts today, and that Tim Curry did with his voice and his presence more to scare the shit out of people than all the CGI and everything that got piled upon everything in the recent update of that one. So yeah,
absolutely right.
That's an actor.
I saw it. It was a scary movie, but the Pennywise was nothing. Cannot touch Tim Curry's. They needed CGI. Tim Curry was the CGI. He embodied that perfectly. He didn't need CGI.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And it falls apart at the end because he's not in it. It turns into the giant spider, and it's not scary at all. But just him, just having this British actor in clown makeup is just as scary as it needs to be. And
especially for Americans.
What's that?
Especially for Americans.
Especially for America, yeah.
Something about that accent makes it a little scarier somehow.
I think so, yeah. And but yeah, just so terrifying in that, and it just stuck with me basically my whole childhood. And but at the same time, I was like, who is this guy who could be this scary on screen? You put him in clown makeup, and so it really stuck with me. And then started seeing him in other stuff. Of course, Clue. Playing Wadsworth, the butler.
Yeah,
I'm butler. I buttled, sir. Yeah, and he was hilarious in that. At the end, he's acting out all the murders and he's throwing Michael McKean around to pantomime everything. Michael McKean says, "Will you stop that?" And he just says, "No." He keeps doing it. Just perfect delivery. So funny. Yeah. And then Muppet Treasure Island, playing Long John Silver.
Yeah.
Perfect in that. I've heard people say he's perfect in that because he basically is a Muppet. Like he's basically playing a Muppet in human form in that movie.
He did some good voiceover stuff.
He did.
But to me, the best of that was probably playing Nigel Thornberry.
Yep. Yep.
That was my son's age. You know, he was into that show, and he was just bumbling, just great. You know, all his stuff was funny. It was a lot of. It reminds me. Well, I guess it would be in reverse, but you know, Michael. It's the same kind of a thing that you got from The Office. You know, with just doing dumb shit, kind of deadpan, but just hilarious. And that was a dumb cartoon, and it was still really good.
Yeah. He did a lot of voice work, especially as he got older, and he really elevated it. You know, and it just kind of goes back to that saying: "There's no small parts, only small actors." You know, you could put him in a 5-second cameo, and people would want to watch it because you know he was one of those actors. As soon as he showed up on screen, you had a little party in your head. You were like, yes, because you knew something fun was going to happen. He was going to be funny,
for sure,
or scary, but he was going to do something really good. So, yeah. What else?
That's just a sign of a good actor when you get that excitement. Right. You know something momentous is going to happen, and you know, like Marty said, you're British. You know it's going to be better. That acting level is just going to go up a couple of notches higher than what you expect anywhere else.
Yeah, and he had that British theatrical background where he could just kind of play, you know, whatever big role he wanted to, and that was the thing. He could play just about anything, but he almost always played it broad. He very rarely played it subtle. But you know, he was really just kind of a cartoon in human form. But within that range, he could do just about anything. You know, he could play a villain, he could play a goofball, he could play a monster. You know, just anything. He could do it. A few others. So the Three Musketeers, playing the Cardinal in Three Musketeers. He was a lot. Really fun in that one as the villain. What were you going to say, Marty?
No, that was a really good one. I was going to say Home Alone 2.
Home Alone 2, yeah.
Smaller part, but you know, still really a big stake to go back to in that movie. You know, every time he popped up, like, oh, there's more shenanigans. I liked him in that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But so there was a few other legend, obviously, but for me, I'm going to just tell a quick story because this is how I was introduced to Tim Curry. So it was the summer of 1980. So I was like, 13. Yeah, I was 13 years old, and me, Donnie McNeil, and Patrick Convoy. We got the idea that we're going to walk to the theater for the midnight movie because Donnie's older brother had told us about this midnight show. Now, it was what came out in 1975. So this was 5 years after the movie was made. It was adapted as a midnight movie. I don't exactly know how that happened. I didn't look into it, but we decided we're going to go for it. And we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know one thing about it at all. Except that it was kind of a musical, but we knew that the crowd interacted, and he told us all the things. So we brought rice and toast, and we knew some of the lines, and we couldn't wait, right? So we decided we're going for it, and we're just going to lie to our parents, and we're going to go for it. And so we went and got some goofy clothes because we didn't know what it was. So we went and got some goofy clothes out of Pat's dad's closet. He's like, take whatever you want. We put on some stupid clothes. Why? I don't know why we thought that was a thing. I wore this shirt because that's what I was listening to at that time. Evo. Anyway, so let's do it, right? That's it. It's probably 9 o'clock or so. Let's start walking. We don't know how long it's going to take. So we walked to the theater, and it seemed to take forever. And we're excited, and it's building. And this is a big adventure, right? Side note, I looked it up today right before the show. It was 6.3 miles we walked. About 2.5 hours. And there we are, 3 13-year-olds walking through the city, going to a little 6-mile walk to the theater at midnight. So we're not sure what to expect. We're super excited, but it's all this anticipation. We come around the corner, and the parking lot is full of freaks, full of people dressed in, whether Rocky or whatever.
Dressing clothes from people's mothers' closets, guys.
Well, yeah, but there was anyway. So there was magentas, and there was all these people. We didn't know what any of it was. We just knew that oh my God, look at this! It's actually real. His brother, because we were still not sure if the brother was bullshitting us. We thought it was probably true, but his brother was an ass. He was older than us. He had to mess with us. But man, he was spot on. So we were so excited when we saw that. And we got in line, and they're like, "You guys 17?" Yep. Okie doke. That was it for that. We went in, and my first introduction to Tim Curry was Dr. Frankenfurter, a sequence bustier and panties with with a garter belt and lipstick and dancing around and singing. And I was like, what in the fuck? It's pretty common now. Trans is a very common thing in society now. But back then, it was the only thing I was ever exposed to. And I didn't know what to make of it, but it was so much fun. And, throwing the toast and the rice at the beginning and all the stuff, all the interaction shit. It was just so much fun. And that was like where I first realized I really dig Tim Curry. This guy is all the way on when he's on. And man, what a great experience. And then, of course, the movie's over and we're hanging out in the parking lot with all the freaks. And they're all adults, but, whatever.
Well, you were 17.
And then, yeah. And then there we go. 6.3 miles back home at 2:00 in the morning. But what an experience! Obviously, it was a big deal to me, and ever since then, anytime I saw Tim Curry's name, I would jump in there and watch it, whatever it was, Legend or It or whatever, So he will be missed. It was what a career. Never made it to the heights of like a Tom Cruise stardom, but man, was he good. And everything he was in.
I will go to guy. I mean, just the definition of a character actor, and many, many different characters, and every one of them momentous.
Yeah, and looking down this list, just that I have shit. Just he was a transvestite that was making himself a lover. He was a demon. He was a insane clown, and then he was an explorer, and then he was a bellhop. Or maybe he was a bellman. I don't know. Anyway, the guy can do anything.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize there's some big gaps there in different things.
He did. Yeah, he did everything, and he, as the kids say, he always understood the assignment.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
To a genuine and tremendous actor.
Absolutely.
Acting.
They're here. I will point out a couple other things real quick. He did a lot of broad comedy, a lot of villain roles, a lot of cartoonish type stuff. He actually could do some pretty good dramatic work too. He didn't get to flex those chops very often, but like Hunt for Red October, he played the ship's doctor.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was like a very straight dramatic role. He was good in that. A movie called Kinsey with Liam Neeson. He played a doctor who was finagling to steal Kinsey's research, and it was a very straight dramatic role. Again, I'm not a big fan of the movie, but he was very good in it, just playing like this kind of straight dramatic role. So he didn't get to show that very often, but he was actually quite good at it. Like he could have probably had a career just playing those kind of roles if he wanted to, but why would he want to when he was having so much fun, playing Pennywise and Nigel Thornberry and all that.
Yeah,
so
good.
And I'll also say a couple, an underrated role. So not a great movie, but in the '90s they did a McHale's Navy adaptation with Tom Arnold. Not a very good movie, but Tim Curry as the bad guy, hilarious. This kind of Russian like warlord type guy who's got his own psychologist because he's got his family kidnapped somewhere, and he's in therapy with the psychologist, and it's he's just doing this bit, but it's like he's so funny in this. Like the movie is just meh, but every time it goes back to him as the bad guy, it just comes alive because he's so much fun to watch in this goofy role. And that's the thing. He could just take something like anything and just elevate it so much with this kind of broad, fun performance. And he's just so much fun to watch on screen all the time.
And I've got to ask, why did he and Gary Oldman never do something? Those two would have just lit it up.
Oh man,
that would have been fantastic. By the way, I just read here, Curry started his career in the West End production of the musical Hair in 68 and 69. He went on to be nominated for the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor in a Musical. There you go. There's that whole thing of like, he's a legit actor. He's not a goofball.
Yeah.
Man.
No, he's a legit actor. He just kind of ended up in this niche playing these crazy wacky roles and fit into it like a glove. So he just kept on doing it. Rode that horse his entire career as long as he could.
Yeah, so, I'm sure it was a lot of fun. I mean, he played Mozart, in a play in Amadeus. Yeah, man.
Brother got to eat.
He will be missed.
Most definitely, but he left behind a lot of great performances that people are going to be watching for a long time. So,
yeah.
Well, I got a long list of things to do tonight, but over the next couple of days, I'm going to revisit it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think my homework is going to be most likely Legend.
I think I'm going to have to watch Congo because that is one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. And
Bad Gorilla.
He's so much fun. Just that scene with him and Delroy Lindo, and he's stuffing his face with cake. Stop eating my sesame cake.
The fact that you can quote Congo amuses and scares the shit out of me at the same time, Tim.
I completely forgot about that.
There are a few movies that I have been like, oh my God, do I get that time back? Because I read one of those things where I read the book first and Michael Crichton. And his
that could have been so great. That could have been so great.
The people that made that movie knew they were making that there was no way it was going to work. So they just made it as ridiculous and fun as humanly possible. And that's why I love it. It's a complete guilty pleasure.
I will say this, though. Was it as bad as Sphere? No. Few things are. But now we're heading down some rabbit holes we don't need.
Bad Gorilla.
Well, and now I want to shift our focus again. I mentioned at the top of the show, we lost two. I mean, people who were key in their respective professions, and Dolly Parton kind of crossed into a myriad of things, and that's what. Hell, I ain't no cowboy. I just wear the hat. But I want to just throw this on. It's Dolly's from that generation of country that I enjoyed, but never really made a full dive with Dolly. But knowing the hits through the years, of course, Jolene and Islands in the Stream, I think whenever we get around to doing a duet show, I'll just say right off the bat, that's going to be in my threefer.
Well, I'll fight you for it. It's in mine as well.
Because she and Kenny Rogers nailed the shit out of a gorgeous song written by the master Barry Gibb. And just as large for me is what a great human being she was. Yeah. And just being reminded over the last 24 hours or so how she was so invested in going into her community and building people up, not giving them a hand out, giving them a hand up and an incentive to do better. Saying, oh, here's whatever, I can't remember what year it was, but $500 was a big deal. At a much bigger deal than it is now. So not that $500 is anything to sneeze at, but telling these two kids, you're paired up and you guys don't get all of this unless both of you graduate. And just so spurring people on to do better. I forget the exact numbers, but the graduation rate at this in the school system that astronomically flipped from like maybe even single digits into, just, again, I don't want to misrepresent the numbers, but just off the charts of a difference. And she did that. And, much like Michael Jordan saying, why don't you run for this office, or why don't you make this opinion and let us know? And, well, because Republicans buy sneakers too. And she, not that exact quote, but she's like, you know what? These people buy my albums too. So you didn't know her politics. You may have guessed on certain things, but it's a testament to a generation that knew when to shut up and entertain.
Not necessarily a generational thing, though. Sorry to cut you off, but she was on stage with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, who were about her age or even older, and they couldn't keep their mouth shut about politics. So I think it's the difference between someone who grew up dirt poor in the Smoky Mountains and knew how lucky she was to be successful and didn't take her audience for granted, versus people who grew up surrounded by privilege and absolutely took their audience for granted and didn't care if they pissed people off that bought their tickets.
A lot of talking at people instead of to people, which she seemed to do. She had that presence when she was talking to the camera. In some ways, it felt like she was talking to you. Like she had that presence. Some people couldn't just do it, and she was pretty good at it. She just made you feel what she was feeling, and did a lot of charity work, like Eric alluded to. I was introduced to it. It was probably 9 to 5, but Islands in the Stream. That was just epic. I was a boy, and I was trying to pretend, because you got to be cool. You got to pretend to be cool. But I loved that, and the whole video and them singing to each other. I was so into it. I'm not exactly sure why, but I really dug it. But she's never been afraid to do stuff like. She did Home Sweet Home. Come on, for charity. She didn't need to do any of that shit. She didn't need to, glom onto anybody's fame or any of that. She did another good thing. Proceeds went to feeding homeless people, and I thought it was cool as shit. Some people might have thought it was corny or whatever, but I fucking loved it. I love Motley Crue.
I love the fact that she had such a loose, hey, shucks, kind of that Southern charm thing. She's hanging out with the Motley boys, and she's, hey, what do you know? Dolly Parton and Motley Crue going to number 1.
Yeah, and she sang a verse. She sang a verse. She wasn't there just to harmonize with Vince. She actually sang a verse and really put some effort into it. It was really great. And she also did it with what's her name from Four Non Blondes. She did What's Up. She remade What's Up. And I think that was also a charity thing. But she was. She seemed, like you said, Jim. She came from nothing, and she seemed to really remember that. And but brilliant songwriter. Everybody remembers she wrote "I Will Always Love You," right? Because Whitney Houston made it this mega hit after she made it a pretty good hit. But I don't know if you guys know this, but she wrote a song for Hank Williams Jr. Yeah. She actually performed it, and then he wanted to do it, so he did it. It's called "I'm in No Condition," and it's about breakup and loss or whatever. Best Little Whorehouse. She in the 60s, she was a prolific songwriter, and she's just one of those people that's just kind of naturally talented at a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And not, her movies very few of her movies were hits, but she always made it enjoyable to watch her because she was having fun within the role.
Yeah.
I love what James Woods has had to say about her. Just the fun they had on set together, and just like I said, 9 to 5. The definition of a good sassy Southern lady. Fun to watch.
Sure. Yeah, I remember watching 9 to 5 with my mom. I had no idea. I couldn't relate to any of it. Right, I was a kid, and I'm like, it's women at work, and I couldn't relate to it. The movie I really couldn't relate to, but I somehow seemed to watch it and listen to it. Yeah. So I guess she was charismatic enough that it drew me in.
Yeah. 9 to 5 or Steel Magnolias, these roles. She was basically playing some version of herself, like a lot of musicians do when they're on stage, or when they're in movies. But just like with her music, she just had such a warm presence that just came off of everything she did. Like a genuine warmth and presence. You never felt like she had a mean bone in her body, and she was an incredible businesswoman too. In addition to all the music work, she produced a lot of movies, not just the ones that she was in. Of course, she had Dollywood, which that was a huge gamble. Setting up a theme park in the middle of the Smoky Mountains. It's like that could have bankrupted her easily, but it went off. It went off well. Everybody loved it, and how many people living in that area that couldn't afford to go to Disneyland got to experience a theme park because of that, or the kids got to experience a theme park because of that.
Yeah.
And how many people got to experience the Tennessee mountains that had never been there because they wanted to go to Dollywood, so it was a great experience for a lot of people and brought a lot of joy into kids' lives.
And I know when she got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I know a lot of that's not rock and roll, this, that, the other. I'm like, I kind of understand that, but at the same time, look at the litany of R&B artists who contributed to rock and roll in the early years, like Aretha Franklin or James Brown. Those people are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a reason. And Dolly, she kind of, she's like, okay, maybe it's not my place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But then I believe it was Cyndi Lauper said something to her. So I can't remember who it was exactly, but then reconvinced her, and she did it. And then just to have a little fun with it, she ends up making an entire album with rock songs on it, with rock star. And a lot of the people who did the originals got involved because they respected her enough. And Marty brought up the Motley Crue, and that wasn't on that album; that was separate. But like the L7 thing, Miley Cyrus, Joan Jett, Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. I mean, there's a regular album and the double album, the special edition album. Go on forever. Rob Halford, his song with her.
Yeah,
that's an original. That song is amazing, and they worked together so long. And he was just heartbroken, and just his memorial for her going out on social media was just from the heart, and just the respect for that guy, from that guy to her. And I go back to on one of her albums in the early 2000s. Before any of this was kind of a hip thing to do for her, but she did a cover of Collective Soul's "Shine" with a little bit of banjo in there, and it worked perfectly. And just
I'm gonna have to look that up later.
Yeah, but from Collective Soul fan to Collective Soul fan, there definitely check that one out, Jim.
Did she do one of these? Yeah.
She made it her own.
She didn't use the paper towel roll. Okay.
I like that. And I want to quote a friend of mine here. I want to make sure I get this quote exactly right. And again, Dolly's politics, whatever. She made a good joke here. I think gay couples should be allowed to marry. They should suffer just like us heterosexuals.
Yeah. Terrible idea.
Yep.
So, Dolly Parton, whether it was music, whether it was acting, whether it was being a humanitarian, or just being the consummate entertainer, rest in peace, and thank you for all the years of being a great example of what it's like to be not just an American, but a great human being.
You're here.
It's an Irish wake, folks, but Tim Curry, Dolly Parton, again, both of them, thank you for all the years of entertaining the hell out of us. The world was a better place for both of them being here. Rest in peace.
Absolutely.